In this video, you're going to see an interview with my buddy, Chad Davis. Chad's actually the creator of Automation Town, which is this really nice, awesome community of other tech-forward people like me, like him, that share with each other, how are they automating things in their accounting firm, in their small businesses, how are they implementing AI, all sorts of different resources and help and content and events and webinars from very, very much experts in the techie automation world. So definitely check it out. I'll put a link in the description to that community, and then let's go on with the interview. Hi, everybody. I'm here with my friend Chad Davis, one of the smartest accounting and AI thought leaders in the world, and he's somewhere else in the world now. And via the magic of the internet, we get to meet again, maybe once a quarter, maybe every 4 months, and we get to catch each other up on what our experience has been working with AI. What have we seen? How can we help other accounting professionals or small business owners kind of see the world through our eyes? Super highly tech nerdy, experimental folks. So, Chad, how you been, man? How's it been the last 4 months?
Good. Never talk to me as like a thought leader. That's bleh, gross. In terms of us doing this, I had a lot of fun the last couple quarters. When was the first one that we did? Like summer of 2025?
Yeah, around there. Yep.
Yeah. And then I guess we've been doing this every 3 or 4 months since. And it's kind of cool just to see where all of this is, from just like tools that we're using and like what we're doing in our firms. And I swear, every single time we plan out a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, we get to the fourth thing and it's 50 minutes into the video. So I have very, very low hopes that we actually get through this list today. But how are you feeling about it?
We did make a commitment to keep this under 45 minutes or around there, right? That's our commitment to make it.
Could you make a little bell? What if you just put a little bell? We had like 1 minute for every topic. We would get through everything.
Let's try that. So you want to? Is there a place you want to start? Well, I can start with something.
Yeah, go for it.
So what we thought was going to be pretty big news. This happened a couple months ago, which is OpenAI and Intuit striking this deal where Intuit's going to start purchasing, I assume, computing and AI from OpenAI. And this is a big deal from two perspectives. One is when Intuit first came out with the news that they were doing this financial intelligence, Intuit Assist, whatever they want to call it, they signaled that they were building all this AI in-house. Okay. And I think part of it was maybe to tell the stockholders that, hey, we're not behind the 8 ball. We're also building and thinking about AI. We know that if we are a tech company that doesn't build their own AI, we're toast. So I think that was part of the signal. But the other part of the signal is because we're building it internally, our data stays here. I mean, it doesn't go somewhere. No one else processes our data. And I think they wanted to signal people, the users, that there's no security potential challenges with moving data to other servers or having other people process the data. Because I think most accountants, what they were super fearful about is putting in a real P&L or a real tax return into ChatGPT to analyze it. I would tell you, pretty much I've been doing ChatGPT webinars since it first came out. And that's the number one comment that it just keeps coming. Do you really put client data there? How do you make sure that client data doesn't go out, in the wild, and who's looking at these things and here and there? So I thought it was pretty surprising that Intuit, came up and say, hey, yeah, we did this big contract with OpenAI. And this signals that one, maybe Intuit couldn't build it internally themselves. Or even if they were to spend, an equivalent amount of billions of dollars or whatever the contract is for, could actually make it as good. So I think it's kind of a signal that says, it looks like the OpenAI engine is going to be the most powerful one. So even though they could build some sort of middleware, or custom instructions, so to speak, or fine tuning, it looks like Intuit will be using the OpenAI engine for all that stuff. Now, the first manifestation of that is Intuit announcing that you can integrate, quote unquote, and I'm using big air quotes here, the Intuit products into ChatGPT, and they released the 3 most useless ones, MailChimp, TurboTax, and Credit Karma. So right now, if you have a MailChimp account, TurboTax, or Credit Karma account, you can sync it into ChatGPT, and then you can actually call the app, so to speak, and have it chat with your data. But I've been playing with it. They opened up like 2 or 3 data points, particularly TurboTax. I'm just like so disappointed that they only opened a few data points, like summary data points, not detailed data points. I don't have a Credit Karma account, so I haven't done that one yet. And MailChimp, the opportunities are huge to open up tons of data points there, and they're also not open. So their API that they build with OpenAI is just not good. And they didn't do one for QuickBooks, and I wonder if that's strategic or they didn't get a chance to build it. So I'm really disappointed. Like I have really mixed feelings about this whole thing. I don't know whether to get excited or to be bummed out by it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are chasing the headline. So when they ink the partnership deal, it sends a signal. Typically, it affects the stock price. When you look back at the early days of the MCP protocol, which is what all of these apps are integrating through on the new ChatGPT app store, the very first connectors that were created in Claude were really bad. You could only read certain things. They only exposed a few different tools. When you asked it for something, it would say, hey, I can't do that. And we lived with it for half a year, 9 months, and then eventually it got better. So I almost expected that they would only release a few tools. And I'm actually kind of like, I'm surprised that they even released it this early, because the ChatGPT App Store was just released in December 2025. And there's not that many tools on it just yet. But in mid December, they allowed anybody, so you, me, a firm, Anchor, Carbon, Financial Sense, they could now submit their own apps into the ChatGPT App Store. And a lot of people are calling it like the 2007 moment or 2008 moment with the App Store with Apple, and like how the early ones started to get traction and how people were making money off of like flashlights and calendar and calculators. I don't know how close that is to reality for us right now, but it actually is a play if you are an app and you want to have people chat with or take actions upon in an app to do something new while there's not too many people here. But that's just going to get more busy. The MCP tools will get upgraded. And I think the very first version of QuickBooks inside of the App Store, when that's released, it will be minimal. It might not have all the tools. Now, I'm just speculating. It could have every single one. But if you look at all of the signals around what people are paying for in the API and what's accessible to your own data, you know this API better than anybody. I would be curious what you think the very first version of the ChatGPT connection would actually look like.
Well, okay. So I'm not a programmer, so I'm not a developer, so I can speak to these things in a very light level. But I have experience working with developers in building custom tools using the QuickBooks API. And the QuickBooks API, although it could be criticized by some of the nerdiest database people as it being incomplete, et cetera, and we can go down that rabbit hole if you want to, it's actually very complete, from data access perspective. You can access 90% of the data in an invoice and 90% of the data in a check and 90% of the reports. I mean, the amount of data you can get access to is pretty big. I'm talking about the QuickBooks API. Now, what will surprise me fully, and look, if somebody from Intuit is watching this and they want to make me look stupid, please make me look stupid. And when you release this thing, release it with every single access point available in the API, because I will be forced to apologize in public and say, no, these guys did the exact opposite of what we are predicting or speculating. But what I'm speculating is that they will open a few data points only, and you will only access a few of them, like inquiring about open invoices or something like that. And it'll be kind of silly. Like it would almost be created purposefully as a testing tool, so people can prove that there's some sort of proven concept that can be built. But they're not going to open it 100% immediately. I just believe that they're worried about misuse, misunderstanding. or probably the fact that ChatGPT hallucinates every once in a while. And imagine if you're using data import on the API. So for example, I have 100 invoices to import, and I tell the API, and it happens to have access, and I go, hey, can you grab these 100 data points I have here in Excel and put them into QuickBooks, and then some items don't match, and it starts extrapolating and guessing and hallucinating or what I meant by this app or this item or this description. And like I think what they're worried about is just creating data clutter, because AI is still not linearly dependable. Like sometimes you tell any AI do this, and sometimes the answer is something that no human would have gotten there. Like it's just very random in the path that it goes to. So with accounting data, I don't think anybody wants 1% variation of randomness on data import or data export. So I believe that might be the single factor that limits Intuit from they themselves releasing complete access to the API. Now, I think that a third party, someone that wants to enable the power of ChatGPT and all the data in QuickBooks, will probably create a much better application that accesses all the data points, which is what we're used to with like e-commerce connectors. Like QuickBooks build an e-commerce connector that is a freaking toy compared to like some of what the big players have done. Third parties,
like A2X,
yeah, like A2X and stuff like that. So I think that this is an open market right now for those third parties that want to build this solution. But like I think, like you said, because Intuit now charges for the access of the API data. Now, the business model for these people experimenting with these is kind of a challenging one, because it'll cost them money just to test, this thing. So I that's why I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't have high hopes that this partnership between Intuit and OpenAI will feel fruitful to a user like me immediately. Maybe a year from now, something inside QuickBooks kind of seems better because of OpenAI, but I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
Well, let me challenge you. I think one of the big plays is IES and making sure that you can extract insights from data that you typically may not be able to extract insights out of. If that works, that could be really good for people on IES who need that type of information. Now, could you get that by pulling out all that data yourself and doing this? Maybe. I don't know. But maybe that's the play. It's not about accessing it from ChatGPT side. It's about the in-app experience that takes you full speed back to, hey, we couldn't build the models ourselves. Let's use the power of OpenAI. Let's make the QuickBooks experience better. Again, we all have different thoughts on how that can be rolled out and how effective it is and all that kind of stuff. But remember, it's a two-way street. It's not just the App Store.
No, I'm with you. That's why I said users like me. Right? So for the average user, you're 100% right. The average user on QuickBooks Online Advanced or Intuit Enterprise Suite that wants to have maximum AI experience, I think OpenAI will power some of those instant insights that you're going to see sort of pop up and stuff like that while you're surfing your reports and stuff like that. I really meant is for us, the consultants that want to use the power of AI to build custom solutions to our clients. That's kind of maybe the angle that I was taking.
All right, I'm going to start a timer on my screen, and we have 2 minutes for a topic of your choice. And when we're done, we'll move to the next one. Let's do this.
Okay,
you pick. All right, I'll pick the topic then. All right, I started the timer. I want to talk quickly about you, because it's been a while since I got an update from Right Tool and like all the stuff that you're building. So how has the influx of Claude code and vibe coding and like accessible AI code helped Right Tool over the last kind of 3 or 4 months? And this isn't like to promote Right Tool. I'm genuinely interested.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So we have 3 backend developers that know how to do the backend stuff, and we have 1.5 front-end developers, and I'll put myself in that half. And basically, what I'll do is I'll open up any screen in QuickBooks that's messed up, which, by the way, is probably all of them. If we can objectively go back and look at any potential things that we actually really truly need fixing inside QuickBooks. Well, I'll look at a particular screen in which the buttons are too small, or the checkboxes don't do shift click, or the settings don't allow me to have a particular column to be sticky there. Every time I refresh, it just goes back. So I look at something that's more on the front end side, and something that the user finds themselves doing a lot of clicking on, clicking here or there. And I'll take a screenshot of that, put the HTML code of that page in it, and then I say, look, I wish this screen had bigger buttons, can do shift click, could do this, could do that. Could you write for me a script that will automatically, when the page loads, change this page or enable this feature or make this button interactive in this way or that way? And could you do that for me? And I'll do it in like freaking 3 seconds, okay? And then I'll take that script, I'll run it, I'll test it, I'll refresh the screen, run it and test it, click a bunch of things, run it and test it, and go, okay, this is good enough. I send it to my developers and say, hey, can you bring this into the extension? If the whatever it needs to be done requires anything on the back end, like querying QuickBooks for data or something like that, then they add additional code that I just can't work with. But if it doesn't, they'll literally implement this within 24 hours of my request. So
Good.
the speed in
Your
which
2 minutes is up.
Okay.
Okay.
The speed in which we can implement features with AI, cloud coding, and Vive coding is just 100x now.
That's honestly, it's a great example because it's like it puts the power back into whatever. It makes it accessible to you. Like you can now test it, make it look exactly like you want. Like this is the why this exists, and honestly, it's probably making developers' lives all easier too. I'm gonna bump it up to 3 minutes because that was really too quick. But okay, next topic on you.
Okay, I'll volunteer my own topic here. So I went into Google AI Studio, and I told it, I want you to build a simple ledger for me. It needs to have a chart of accounts, check registers, ability to import CSV files that were downloaded from the bank, ability to run a P&L, ability to run a balance sheet, ability to back up the data into a JSON file, a JSON file, and ability to load the data. Okay, and that took me probably 4 or 5 hours of playing with it until I knew what the prompt would look like. I did that, and with the new Gemini 3 Flash, it's called Gemini 3 Flash Preview. I kid you not, I had the whole process recorded. I haven't published the edited yet. It took me 1 hour and 50 minutes to create a fully functional GL app in it. And then it took me another 20 minutes to publish it into Google Cloud. So I can actually literally publish a URL. It doesn't have a domain name yet, doesn't have login process. And it's like fully functional. It's basic, but it's fully functional. So I'm probably 40, 50 hours away from building an actual commercial GL. So that's pretty crazy. I don't know if I'm going to go that route, but it's pretty crazy how the guy, Hector, that knows no code, can do this with tools that are practically free.
You're not the first person that's talked about this. I met a guy last week and he showed me his own version of like write-up software for people that he didn't want to put on to Xero or QuickBooks, not even the $5 or $20 plans. He's just like, no, if I have spreadsheets and I have this work, I can do balance sheet, I can do income statement, I can do trial balance, I can do anything I need to. And this took me I think it was for him like 20 or 30 hours, and the whole thing's up and running, and he's going to be launching it into his firm, I think in Q3, kind of ready for the next year after he gets it done. That's a signal. I know it's just you and him, but I feel like this is where people are going, and it's kind of cool to see, kind of scary at the same time. Very Renaissance period right now for this kind of stuff, but it's fun to watch at least.
Yeah, we can circle back to this topic if we have time. Let me ask you a question. Start the timer.
All right.
ChatGPT has an app directory. Right now, it's like you said, 2017 moment, like the App Store. Have you played with any of the apps? What kind of apps are you using these days?
No, I took a look at the list and I was like, I would rather just go in the app and use the app. I'm the only thing like in ChatGPT where I'm like creating stuff that I wouldn't create somewhere else is mostly in like the Claude Code desktop kind of like local file stuff, but like images. ChatGPT images was released This was it December or late November, I forget. And like that's kind of nice to be able to play with whenever Gemini won't do something for copyright reasons or something, or you need it to spell. Oh, that's a good one. ChatGPT will spell the trouble words that Gemini will keep repeating incorrectly on photos. So that's really good. But I have not really worked with a bunch of them because I just can't be bothered. I think it's too novel right now for some of this stuff. And even when I need to go find flights or find other things, like I've got my core flights systems where I'm just doing it myself and it takes 20 minutes. If I let an agent do it for 15 or 20 minutes, I'm not even that much better off. So I'm not anti the store to do things, but I just haven't found enough use cases today to be able to spend enough time in it to justify it. How about you?
I'm on the same token. I'm on the same token. I'm trying to love the Intuit. I'm a QuickBooks guy. I've been for a long time. I'm just paying close attention to the apps that talk to the financial data, and I haven't found an app that go, oh, okay, this seems like it's gonna work. Um, Almost everything that I want done, from app to app, and having some sort of AI in the middle. And Claude, but by the way, to me is the best one to put in the middle. It's say Zapier can do it or Make can do it really well. So like we can grab any two apps and then put in the middle of the workflow, you insert Claude a prompt to say, hey, based on this data points, which one makes more sense based on this prompt, and then access these data points on this other app. So I found Make particularly just a really good app to build my own custom my custom workflows. I don't think OpenAI has really thought about creating real solutions in this app store. It's mostly the signal that AI is connected to everything. You can
The
start
big
a
ones.
3-minute timer on this. You were telling me that you've seen this anti-AI sentiment, like it's cool to be anti-AI. You've been looking at this. You're not really, too thrilled about it, but it's getting some popularity. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I feel like human nature is human nature. I think like misery loves company, and like that's kind of what this is. I'm not like so pro AI that I'm delusional, but I look at it through the lens of, man, I really like my job. I like the way I work every day. It's like completely changed in the last couple of years, and I think it's because there's there's just so much repetition, like so much new stuff you're playing around with that it becomes really fun to work in this kind of stuff. So I think like the anti AI rhetoric is really easy, right? Because we all are humans and we all want to make sure that like our lives are not worse off for this. And there's a lot of bad things to do with AI. But I don't know. I needed to really simple example. This is like something that was from years ago, but like a client we couldn't really help out wanted a recommendation to somebody else. And it was a while ago. Totally forgot about the call, like all the details. Um, Quickly, like created the most beautiful referral email I've ever sent, and it took like 30 seconds, mostly just to find the transcript from when it was recorded, and like everybody was happy. Like, and that was like a really good experience being able to remember all the stuff that happened. And I think there's different people that are like everybody's on a different journey or like what they're doing in their work. But for table stakes, just being able to record all your conversations and use them in like really really good ways to make your job easier is kind of where I'm at. And I feel like there's just a lot of like anti AI for work because of things that have happened maybe 6 months, a year ago, but for the last like 60 days or so, with 5.2 coming out, with Opus 4.5, with Gemini 3 Pro and the new Flash thinking, like the hallucinations are low. Like there's some really, I don't like, even just the way that it analyzes like numbers now, it's like super good. So I'm really liking where the quality is at over the last kind of 30 to 60 days. And I just wonder if the effort that was put into talking bad about it was put into trying and like applying it into your work a little bit, if that would change people's, opinions a bit. That's all.
I'll be the devil's advocate, but from a different angle, if you don't mind, and maybe this will spark some interesting discussion. When I first started my business, I was a bookkeeper, non-certified. I literally opened up my LLC and started telling people that I can do their QuickBooks. Okay, so I got no credentials, no license, no anything. And the first roadblock I ran into is like, oh, you're not a CPA, oh, or I'm really looking for a CPA, and CPA became this word that kind of became an antagonist in my world. So I started becoming a little anti-CPA, and I don't mean bad-mouthing CPA. I was very creative, and I said, I'm not a CPA, and that's a good thing. And then I inserted my value proposition afterwards, right? And I basically used what I thought was a weapon against me as a weapon for me. So, you want to work with somebody like me that's not a CPA, because I don't have this obtuse, narrow point of view. I'm going to look into the details. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to handhold you. I'll look at receipts, et cetera, et cetera. So I grabbed everything a CPA typically doesn't do and said, this is a good thing because I will do the things that a CPA doesn't do. I'm using this as a context to say, I could totally see a world where folks are a little bit tired about the kind of cookie cutter AI output of things, and having an accountant or a bookkeeper, a professional telling their clients, we're not using AI, and that's a good thing. And let me tell you why. Our emails will have genuine answers. We'll actually look at your books. When we give you insights or advice about your numbers, we actually looked at the numbers. It's not AI slop that's being produced. So even though the quality of the work has gone way up, it's exactly as you say, hallucinations are down, the text is better, the explanations are better, it's sounding more human, more warmth, there's still a stigma, right, of that. And sometimes we might take that anti-AI sentiment mostly out of protection, to tell the client, I'm with you. Like, I know how you feel about it, so I'm with you. I'm on your team. So I don't know if it's because of that or because of what you're saying. People are just not playing with it enough, or not understanding it, or thinking that today's AI is the same thing as last 6 months AI. So I think it might be a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think so. I know we're over 3 minutes on this one, but it's not to, honestly, like I feel the same as some people that are just so tired of it all. But at the same time, like, I don't know, I kind of carved out a role at my firm where I could play with this stuff. And there's a lot of stuff I'll never use. In fact, 99% of the stuff we're testing, like we're not using in the firm. It just doesn't fit with the priorities. But it is kind of interesting to see like where this is all at. And maybe this will be the next 3-minute one, which is like just yesterday, Claude released Cowork, which made accessing Claude Code a little bit more accessible to people who didn't want to use the fancy terminals and the fancy coding environments. And I tested it out this morning just on something super simple. And it was like to create an expense claim. And now it's sitting there on my computer. It's going through, it's reading the files on the computer. I don't have to upload them at all. It's doing its thing. It created the report. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I look back, I'm like, well, Dext and Dext and Expensify and all these other tools and Ramp, like everybody can create expense claims. This isn't like anything overly amazing. But I mean, what happens if, this is the thing that fixes people's problems when clients upload data that isn't in the right format that you built your automation for? You're like, oh, I was using Power Query before. Oh, I was using Power Automate for this. Oh, I was using a folder in Google Drive that watches activity, and when clients put stuff in, it starts my automation, and then it does all this stuff. It's like, oh, maybe if it does this, maybe there's a little bit more AI that's accessible and more and priced a little bit easier to fix those like edge cases that come out. So I kind of love the idea of keeping up to speed on like what's all possible, because you look at problems differently. And when you look at problems through different lenses. It just, I don't know. I find work more enjoyable that way.
No, I not just find them more enjoyable that way. I think where this is heading. So you asked me earlier about me vibe coding into an actual commercial application. But if the average accounting professional gets up to speed to a little bit close to where kind of we are with experimenting and feeling comfortable with it, and the right software company says, I am going to build this super solid source of truth application with your basic data fields like client data, client files, due date, this and that for your workflow. But you have this sub tool where you can totally change the UX or the UI for a particular customer, a particular type of customer. Those CPAs are accountants that do, niche. So like imagine you're working with only pool guys, right? Or pool cleaning companies. And then you really think about how a pool cleaning person kind of thinks through software, right? Maybe you study their systems and you go, it looks like they like the blue buttons, or blue means active and white means like red doesn't mean anything to them, whatever it is. And then you start telling the system, you know what? I want their front end to look this way. Big buttons here, small buttons here, tables and grids that look like this. And then all of a sudden, you make it so much easier and more pleasant for the user themselves to interact with you instead of using these cookie cutters, amazing white label systems like, Taxstone and Carbon and all that stuff. But like, what small business client has, raved about using the accountant's portal? Like they all hate it. Like it's just all quirky and it's all these buttons and all these options because typical accountants, they'll start requesting a gazillion features, from the software company. And now the customer's front end has 8 different areas that they can be in. And the customer's like, I just wanted to upload my freaking W-2 and that's it. And I have to click on 10 different things and go through these questionnaires. So what I think the magic middle is going to be is where we get to decide how to customize the experience for the people that we're interacting with, where an employee or a customer. And that app that creates a really strong source of truth database and an easy way for us to create the front end interfaces, I think that's going to be the winner.
I mean, yeah, definitely for the techie ones too. But I don't know, like with some, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but like I sometimes just want to get through the work. And like building all these experiences out too is tough. Like you think about the last few years, just the idea of a customer portal. How many people have opinions on customer portals? Like every accountant. And it is hard to change adoption. And I wonder, maybe to your point, like how do you change the portal mentality so that you can get what you need from your customers, they can get what they need from you? And I have no idea if there's one single way to accomplish this. There probably isn't. But being able to design that for certain firms to be able to honestly just pick and choose features is kind of cool. Because you're right. Like you look at like Financial Sense has their portal, Taxstone has a portal, Carbon has a portal. They're all different, and they all have different features. But I wonder, like, who's going to build the one that like lets you message them on Slack, like where they want to be. That when things are on single source of truth and you have the ability to like plug into the right tools, like maybe that's the winner too.
Yeah, I mean, look, you said it when I finished my comment. You said the techie ones, right? Like you qualify that there's 2 types of accountants, right? The techie ones and the non-techie ones. I would, and I'm sure there's also all sorts of layers of complexity in terms of there's just not 2 types of accountants, right? There's high tech, low tech, kind of tech, and like you said, maybe I am high tech, but I'm just so busy. I just want to get the work done. It has nothing to do with being tech. It's just what my priorities are. But just like you can group and organize accountants by level of techiness, it kind of works like that with our clients too. Like if I look at my clients, and imagine I were to onboard a client, and over the years, I rate them between 1 to 5 in techiness or how much tech they want to interact with, because those are actually 2 different dimensions. And then I predetermine what level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 means. And then all my level 1 clients get one big button that says call me, right? And my level 5 clients get this grid with all sorts of customizability that looks like a big spreadsheet. It would be awesome for me to almost feel like I have the power to control my destiny in terms of how my clients interact with my firm or feel they're interacting with my firm by customizing that portal. Because I am 100% sure that in your firm, you can have the same exact team member interact with two different clients in two different ways because they're just two different people. Like one wants all the details, all the explanation from soup to nuts, the background, the why, the buts, the exceptions. And the other one just says, just tell me what to do, man. And okay, good, I'll do it. Boom. And then there's two types of clients, there's multiple types of clients, multiple types of accountants. And I think that right now it takes a lot of our headspace just to make that switch in our head to call my super techie client to walk him through the tax return, and then my super non-techie client to walk him to the tax return. Just making that switch in the head and remembering that this guy doesn't understand what right click means, and I just went through a guy that I zipped through it in 5 minutes. That takes a lot of attention from you. So if you were able to, during not the busy season, plan each of these individual experiences, I think there's something there.
Yeah, I know.
We might be over the 3 minutes, so we could change topics.
we will. Let's quickly get that. Are you a Microsoft or Google guy? I forget.
I'm a Google guy for mostly for the email stuff. But
yeah, me too. But Copilot got a whole bunch of updates, so I'll talk about a couple of them and then we'll move on.
Sure.
So the new 5.2 model got integrated into Copilot chat, so now you can do like quicker, deeper responses, which is nice. In the US, the Claude agent availability was just released. So that's pretty big. I think there's going to be like a rollout schedule for the rest of the world and some people in the US as well. So like Copilot almost admitting like they need Claude as well. They need OpenAI to make their Copilot kind of experience a little bit better is kind of amusing. But they have to do something. Right now, it's really rough as a Copilot user when you have everything else out there just so much better, and you're kind of stuck in your own world. And I think that's going to change. It's going to be interesting, right? Because then everybody who's picking Copilot because it's in the Microsoft environment, realizing that everything's going through OpenAI or it's going through Claude. What's the argument now? Like I'm just kind of curious how they're going to think about that a little bit.
So just to clarify that, so if I'm a Microsoft user and I'm using Copilot, I'm going to get to choose whether I use the Claude route or the OpenAI route.
Yeah,
so it's almost like Perplexity, almost like you get to choose.
Almost like that too. Yeah,
Interesting.
There's a couple other things too, but they enhance the search a bit for Copilot search, and now the agents can create documents. So they're kind of catching up to like the old Claude models from like 4 or 5 months ago. They could start creating spreadsheets. So it's just like another Microsoft story of them like just catching up, half a year later for a lot of the features that other people have been kind of working with.
I just want to add the reason why this is relevant, because, how is it relevant that Copilot can now do things that Claude can do it before? It's because a lot of firms, they trust Microsoft. They trust Microsoft for years, and they wouldn't even dare to do the task that he's mentioning in Claude or in OpenAI. It's like until it shows up in Copilot, it's outside their purview, right? So once it's in Copilot, a lot of these firms, because they assume that within the Copilot ecosystem is as secure as all the Microsoft data, now they start using these tools, right?
Yeah. Speaking of tools that have failed, you don't have anything to add on Microsoft, do you?
No, not Microsoft.
The Canadian government had a huge botch last month, or maybe a little bit before, where they tried to launch a chat bot for tax advice and for answers. And it cost the Canadian taxpayers $18 million for them at best to get 2 out of 8 questions right or something like that. Whereas you could get a human to answer 6 out of 8 right. So this is just another example of...
For a lot less than $18 million, by the way.
And imagine if this was the US, that'd be like a 1.8 billion.
If I understand this correctly, just kind of like make this in tangible terms, the Canadian government plugged their tax code, so to speak, into a backend, a custom backend, and if the taxpayer says it's so and so deductible and so taxable, it will give you that answer. And whatever they used hallucinated or got the wrong answer from the wrong code and gave wrong
That's
answers.
right. That's right. So just another example of things we didn't need to spend money on, but apparently they like to do that. What do you got up next?
Okay, so in my list, I had a whole bunch of things, but I wanted to talk about some of the apps that I've been experimenting with. So, because right now I do some of my vibe coding requires me taking a screenshot of a page and copy and pasting the HTML code and putting it into ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever and say, build me this code. I was very excited to see the Comet app, ChatGPT's, OpenAI's browser, which is a Chromium-based browser that basically almost like Copilot mode. I know that term is very used in very weird ways, but in Copilot mode, you open a little bar on the right side and you say, hey, look at this screen and interact with this screen. And then basically whatever you tell it to do, sort of like an in-browser agent, it will do the work. I found the Comet app to have such a small context window that it starts halfway and it can never complete the task. So it, like when you do a quick demo of telling the Comet app, hey, can you purchase this ticket for me or whatever, you'll click 3 or 4 things. It'll do that. But if you have it to do multiple things, like scroll down, copy the data, paste it again, if you have it to do, it gets to a point where the context window is so short that I cannot complete a real functional app. So right now, the Comet app, which is the OpenAI agentic browser, it doesn't work for any other stuff that I'm using. Another app I'm liking a lot is called NoteGPT. Have you seen NoteGPT? So
Never heard of it.
NoteGPT.io. It's just really easy to use.
Oh yeah, I use that for summarizing YouTube videos.
Exactly right. So I'm a huge consumer of YouTube content, and I'll look at a video like maybe like a 2-hour podcast, and I'm like, I really want to listen to this, but I don't have time. Should I listen to this? So then I'll go to NoteGPT and say, hey, this is the context. Is there anything here that can help me be a better salesperson or a better manager or a better whatever? And then he's like, oh yeah, between this minute and this minute, there's this summary. I'm like, that sounds interesting. And I'll go back and just listen to that piece. So I'm finding NoteGPT really useful for that. A more complete tool to NoteGPT would be Google's Notebook LM, right? So because with Notebook LM, you can actually give it multiple sources. So some of the cool things I've done with Notebook LM is, like for example, I'm a big fan of Rory Sutherland. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's just incredible. And I listen to every Rory Sutherland video or podcast I can listen to. And then after the 10th one, you start listening to the exact same things. So what I'll do is a new one comes out, and I'll put the last 10 ones I listened to, and I go, hey, is there something new on this one that hasn't been mentioned on the other 10? And I'll just highlight the new things. So like Notebook LM is really cool because you give it multiple sources. This could also work really well on multiple data sources. You can go multiple PDFs, multiple contracts. For example, I'm negotiating the terms for Reframe for our next conference this year. And the last 2 years, I put both contracts in there and the new contract. And I go, hey, what's missing on this new contract that was disclosed on the previous contracts? And the thing just quickly does that for me. And I'll go back to that chat at the next year contract. So I just find Notebook LM for large context windows and comparing multiple types of data, a video, a transcript, a podcast, a contract, a website, a web page. I think it's really powerful. So I'm liking those. Another app that I'm experimenting with is called Delphi AI. And the reason why I like this app is a very particular use case. Ever since artificial intelligence came out, I said, I'm going to clone myself. I'm going to grab, my 1,200 videos that I have, transcribe them, put them into some chat thing. When people ask me questions, can they go to this thing and ask me questions, ask the bot questions first, and then afterwards, if some questions cannot be answered, maybe they can hire me at that point. I haven't been able to make this work. And Delphi seems to be the one that can work really well because they also added a sort of a funnel process. So you can create an account. It's a free account. You can have it ask 3 questions and go, so, okay, the 4th question, you need to subscribe now, and then you have access to the bigger thing. And then I can also go on the back end and monitor these things, so I can go back and check to see how accurate these things are. So I'm liking that as a front end solution. Um, and well, okay, that's enough. I just wanted to throw a couple of things at you. You know, what about you?
No, those are good. I'll just add that I don't know. I found the notebook LM stuff like I treat it like almost like it's a novel thing. Like I'm testing to see if the infographics are any good or if they can be used. I did a whole week of posting about like these infographic things, and like after a week, I was like, I'm kind of tired of them now. But then looked into the slides, and then like for some reason, it would just take a really long time to generate the slides, whether they were detailed or for speak or presenter copy or whatever it was. And you know, they're good slides, but you can't edit them. So I was like, oh crap. I think when I've built my slides, I've been using beautiful.ai for years. And I hate it. Every time it comes out of my bank account, it's like $45 US. But it's like there's so much stuff in there. It's so easy to build spreadsheets or to build presentations from it that I just keep paying it. And so it's a weird relationship. But I'll just add that on December 19th, I had to look it up here. Notebook LM finally moved to like the Gemini 3 models and more data tables and that kind of stuff. So that's when it got really good. Because before, even though it released some of these features, it wasn't really using the 3 models. It was still using 2.5 in the background with all these cool new features. So it is kind of cool that right before the break, they came out and just super powered it with Gemini 3.
Yeah. So we're at 45 minutes. Do you have anything else you want to let out or jam on, or should we like start wrapping it up?
I would just say that let's go through everything we missed. For Google, if you haven't played with AI Studio, play with AI Studio. It's really fun to build stuff. It's really great at websites. So if you're thinking about like what should my website look like, it can design a website pretty well right now. If you're into like branding and stuff, Google's Pompelli was released, right? So you can like look at social posts and like have it design certain things, which is kind of nice. Nano Banana, the image generator, got a huge update in December too, so a lot more quality stuff there. If you're looking for like how to get a better looking vibe coded app, and you're like trying to steal from other places, there's one place called 21st Dev and another one called Mobbin, MOBBIN.com, and you can kind of like just see all kinds of components. ChatGPT.
In what context you would use that? So, for example, let's say I use Mobbin to look at QuickBooks and say, "Hey, can you build me a QuickBooks clone?" Is that kind of like how you're thinking, or?
Yeah, like say you need inspiration for a login page or like how to show users on a page. Like you could take the code, you could take the screenshots, you can start like stealing that and putting it into your lovables and all that kind of stuff. I've used it a couple times, but a lot of people when they're using these tools, they get like the generic like Tailwind, CSS, React component stuff, and they all like all the apps just kind of look the same. You can go in there and have it change it. It's kind of cool. What else is there? Xero released their automatic bank reconciliation stuff, or rolled it out, I should say. They've been testing it for a while, but if you're on
have you used it? Is there any like let's say people watching this don't use Xero, and can you give us some context in terms of what it does?
I can share. So there's a buddy of mine in the UK. He shared with me because he was using it pretty extensively. He goes, I hated it when it first came out. Honestly, I was getting everything wrong. And then just something happened, like a week or two later, just started getting things right. He's like, I don't know how it happened, but he's like, I really like it now. So he's like, I had 400 transactions and I only had to fix 3. And that was like pretty amazing. So he's like, I wouldn't knock it. He's like, I'd keep an eye out on it. He's like, try to really understand how it works. It's missing some buttons on the front end to see feedback on what it did. And like, it has a lot of work to do that way. But they're like, just don't knock it just yet. So I'm keeping an open mind.
And the context of an automatic bank reconciliation is prior to having something that's automated with AI, we would print out the bank statement or have it on a second screen. We would look at all the transactions in the computer, and we would put a checkbox one by one until it's fully reconciled. And now you literally just post a PDF bank statement, and it attempts to do that for you, and you said like 95% accurate, 97% accurate.
I'll just say, I don't know all the details. I haven't been playing around with it very much, but I'm excited to dig in, just like my buddy did. So maybe there's more to report later.
Amazing. Thank you, Chad. And then I'll see you next quarter.
Thanks, Hector. See you later.